All right. Well, hello and welcome. Thank you so much, Pete, for taking some time out of your busy schedule to speak with us and do a 15-minute interview. As you know, these are often watched by prospective franchise owners who are considering the Right at Home brand and potentially going to be an owner themselves. So we really appreciate all your advice and your feedback. So let's get started with doing some introductions. If you don't mind telling us, Pete, where you're located, how long you've been a franchise owner with Right at Home, and how many territories you have, that would be great.
Yeah, perfect. So we're actually in our sixth year of operation. And so when we started, we actually bought an operating business that had been in operation for about 9 years at that time. And that originally was two territories. And then in late December of 23, we acquired another territory, actually one of the Rocco or corporate owned locations. And so now we currently have three locations. And I would share that we're still in acquisition mode and looking to continue to expand our portfolio.
That's awesome to see the scalability and how you started and continue to grow and build your business to help serving others. Uh, as everyone has their different journeys to the franchise world and with Right at Home, I'd love to hear a little bit franchisee with Right at Home.
Sure, I describe my background as an eclectic one. So I'll just share. I got my start. I have an engineering degree from West Point, and then flew helicopters for Uncle Sam for a number of years. And then after military service, I was in large companies like IBM, Pfizer. I was in private equity-backed companies as an operator. Was a vice dean at Columbia Business School. Sort of this amalgamation of different roles over my career, and most of them were global responsibilities. And so, I got to a point in my life and career where, I'd visited 30 countries in half a decade. And so I wanted to be closer to home. So we were looking for an opportunity to own a business, not travel, like I was. And so there were several businesses that we looked at, and with Right at Home being one of them. As I shared earlier, it was an operating business. I was looking to buy something that was operating. I've got good operational experience, and so we were looking to improve and grow, and that's really exactly what we got with Right at Home. So it's been a good journey for the last as I say now, can say half a decade. And I would say from a just a personal investment, in the military, you talk about, the mission, right? And so I would say that with Right at Home, it's been really easy to internalize our mission, right? Our lives are devoted to helping those around us. And so this is an easy mission to internalize. And I would share that, my wife and I have now made this a generational business. So our older son came into the business as director of operations in the fall. And we certainly see this as a generational opportunity as we continue to grow and expand, our business.
Awesome. Awesome. What a great background. And thank you so much for your service. Love hearing all of these veteran stories that we have here among our network of owners. And you kind of spoke to the next question that I was going to ask is why did you ultimately choose Right at Home? I know you mentioned staying more local, serving your local community, and something that was already starting and had a mission that you could resonate with. So, were there any other reasons that specifically Right at Home stood out to you?
Well, I think, in our search, as I shared, I won't go into other types of verticals that we looked at, but we liked healthcare. As I shared, I had experience with IBM in both the industrial sector, but also in their life sciences division, then 7 years at Pfizer. So, just felt had a decent background from a healthcare perspective. I would share not home care. So, I thought maybe I knew home care and we did not. Um, but in terms of why Right at Home, we did like the structure of the franchise approach that we didn't. I'm a firm believer in recognizing what I don't know, and so what Right at Home did really was two things: is just the franchise model gives you clear structure coming into a business, so that you can really focus on growing the business, and a lot of the other processes are already laid out, and it's a matter of just incorporating and improving those. And I think right at home specifically, we liked the team that we met. When we went out for the interview day, that was for us to get to know right at home to get to know us. Came away feeling this is a good team, that we would be well supported, and that's been evidenced, in our ownership period so far.
Awesome. Well, that's a great segue into our next question, which we would love to hear a little bit more about the support. That's something that we really pride ourselves in as an organization, is providing the type of support owners need to have a successful right at home business. So what part of support do you feel that provide you or was the most beneficial for you?
Yeah, I think, each owner comes in with his or her own set of skill sets and capabilities. And I would say that from an operational perspective, I felt strongly about how I could operationalize the business for growth. I'm not a strong marketing person. And so I think, as an example, I feel good about our support from a marketing perspective. And also, the team is just really accessible, easily accessible. So, there have been myriad questions that have come up. Early days was payroll and billing. How do I do this? What does this widget mean? And so the support there has been phenomenal. And then as we wanted to get into other growth vectors and explore, other avenues to accelerate our growth, it really is just a quick email to corporate. I may not know all the right team members, but very quickly the team will say, "Oh, Pete, let me get you directed to this person. She's the expert and will help." And we've seen that evidenced. And I think we've got experience of not only, we acquired an operating business, but now we've gone through an acquisition with corporate. So we've gotten, I think, experience with a wider set of team members at corporate, perhaps, than maybe other owners have. And the experience continues to be very, very good and positive.
Love to hear that. At the end of the day, that's what we're looking for, providing with the support that really helps you achieve those goals. So as you know, these videos are often watched by those who are considering the right at home brand. And I'm sure the day to day has changed as you've evolved from day one to where you are now, half a decade into it. But if you could give us just a kind of rundown of what your day looks like, and even maybe how it's changed as you've had longer tenure in this business.
Yeah, so I'll start in the beginning. My view was I wanted to understand every piece of the business. So I probably have done every role except caregiver, but I would share that my wife, Amy, has also been a caregiver. So she, in the early days, it helped us understand, the rigors of the job. Being a caregiver is a non-trivial role, right? It's the most critical job, frankly, that we feel we have in the company. So understanding that through the eyes of the caregiver is critical. Amy, for example, is our CPR-certified instructor. It keeps her engaged deeply with the caregivers on a continuing basis. But to answer your question in terms of the evolution, I would say initially to any new owner, whether it's a startup or you're buying an operating business, is you're going to be involved in the day-to-day nuts and bolts, which is, I think, critical to understand it. And then as we've grown over time, it isn't that I've taken a step back, but I've taken maybe a step to the side. And what I say now is I'm working more on the business as opposed to in the business. And I think that's, it's easy to say, but I could give examples of what that means. But in terms of examples, we have, since we started, we have quadrupled our revenue over that 5-year holding period. And we have, another aggressive growth plan this year. And that's in no small part, I think, to how we've engineered our roles and responsibilities. But to answer your question, today I'm not so much involved in the day to day, but working more on the business in terms of what's our next growth vector. What are we looking at future acquisition, and then from a back office, are we continuing to optimize our strategies for better integration from a back office perspective.
Awesome. Thank you for going through kind of having a hands-on in every aspect and how that looks to change as you expand and also grow as a business. I want to shift gears a little bit, talking a little less about the actual hands-on operation, but more so tell me about a time where you really felt that you made an impact in someone's life as an owner. And
Well,
I kind of
yeah.
put you on the spot there.
No, but I'll share. As a veteran, we take particular interest in veteran services, and so we've grown. We really have accelerated our growth of the VA segment. I think for obvious reasons, as I said, as a fellow veteran. But I speak at a lot of veteran organizations, if it's a VFW or a Legion or even assisted livings. We ask to speak to the, veterans at those, places. But there's one that, I think back about 2 months ago, I had given a talk at the same location a couple months prior. And we're just talking about veteran benefits, how to engage the VA. And there was someone in the room and he raised his hand and he said, "You know what, Pete, I followed your playbook and I did exactly what you suggested. And my brother up in Tennessee, so we're in suburban Atlanta, but his brother was up in near Nashville, Tennessee. He said, you helped me get him HHA benefits that we could never have afforded, as he or, from a family support. And now I feel so much better. I'm dislocated from my brother from a geography perspective, but I know he's getting the help and care that is really critical to him." So I think, that's one story that, certainly resonates with me at a personal level.
Yeah, that's certainly a great example of how interconnected everything can be. And it just
Yeah.
starts with providing the resources and information necessary to people.
Yeah.
And then as we wrap up here, what is one piece of advice that you would give someone that is considering the Right at Home franchise?
Yeah, maybe I'll give a couple, three, but I think one is because I've taken a lot of calls from prospective owners, and I think one thing that I would have could have done a better job is to speak to prospective owners who are in your boots. Meaning, I think I spoke to several owners who were in startups, and that probably was less helpful. And I should have spoken to more folks who had bought operating businesses. So I think, know your audience. And the second is, if you don't have grit, um, you won't be successful as an owner. But I'll just be really blunt, right? This is not a, set it and forget it. The opportunity is fantastic. But if you're an owner who's willing to roll up, your sleeves and get involved in the day to day, fantastic opportunity. If you want to operate at a distance, probably not a good recipe for success. These are really easy businesses to understand. Caregivers go into a client, we pay caregivers an hourly rate, and we bill some hourly rate. That's pretty easy. The hard part is how you actually manifest that from an efficient operational perspective. So I think my guidepost would be ready to roll up the sleeves and engage, and you can drive some really good success.
Love that. Well, thank you so much, Pete, for your time today. It was great getting to know you and understand Right at Home from yet another owner's perspective. And hopefully, we'll have some good news to share about expansions with new owners here soon.
That's great. Okay. Happy to provide my input. Take care.
Take care.